Tonight, no mercy, the countdown to an imminent economic punch.
Tomorrow, tariffs 25% on Canada.
Launching a trade war and how Canada is fighting back.
We are ready with $155 billion worth of tariffs.
The blow to the auto industry on both sides of the border.
So it's scary as an auto worker. It's part of the emotional roller coaster of being an auto worker.
It means dramatically increased costs that we might not be able to recover.
Taking stock of the financial fallout on the markets and the hit to the loonie. How a front-runner in the Liberal race is responding to the criticism of a former Conservative Prime Minister who once backed him. Plus, the surprising age group falling prey to crypto fraudsters. And a tennis legend dishes out big bucks.
Serena's been very vocal in her support of women's sports.
How Serena Williams' power move is serving Canada's newest basketball team.
CTV National News with Omar Sachedina.
Good evening. Millions across North America will wake up to a harsh new economic reality in the morning. The U.S. president insisting today stinging tariffs on America's two biggest trading partners, Canada and Mexico, are going ahead. That declaration sparking a market tumble, triple-digit losses on the Dow, S&P, and NASDAQ. And Canada's main stock index, the TSX, sank almost 400 points, the biggest drop this year. We'll get to the impact on the auto sector in just a moment, but we begin with CTV's Judy Trin in Washington tonight with preparations on both sides of the border.
No room left for Mexico or for Canada. No, the tariffs, they're all set.
President Donald Trump says Canada's efforts to stop the smuggling of fentanyl across the border has fallen short. Sweeping tariffs will go into effect. Then he revealed what was underpinning his decision.
25% on Canada and 25% on Mexico, and that'll start. So they're going to have a tariff. So what they have to do is build their car plants, frankly, and other things in the United States.
Trump is imposing tariffs to drive manufacturing from automobiles to steel to lumber into the United States. Canada's $1.3 billion security plan to stop illegal fentanyl and migration did not appear to factor into the president's decision at all.
There's a level of unpredictability and chaos that comes out of the Oval Office, and we will be dealing with it.
In the afternoon, an emergency cabinet meeting was called to map out next moves. The federal government has plans to implement counter tariffs on $155 billion worth of U.S. goods. After speaking at a mining conference, Ontario Premier Doug Ford described what the retaliation could look like as he spoke directly to Americans on NBC.
You need our uranium, you need our potash, you need our high-grade nickel. I will stockpile our high-grade nickel at 50% of your military and manufacturing needs, your aluminum, the steel, the lumber. It will be an absolute disaster. And this is all due to one person, that's President Trump.
Some former diplomats are also calling on Canada to take the U.S. to court for violating existing trade agreements.
Every convention that's known in the trade world is being broken by this administration. It really is a shaking experience.
In a statement, the Prime Minister called the tariffs unjustified and said that Canada would retaliate immediately, beginning with 25% tariffs on $30 billion worth of American goods, followed up by tariffs on the remaining $125 billion in U.S. products in 21 days. Omar.
And late word tonight, the Prime Minister will hold a news conference in Ottawa in the morning. Judy Trin in Washington, thank you. On this side of the border, Canadian businesses are bracing for the impact. It could be crushing for the softwood lumber market in New Brunswick, already struggling with declining margins.
They're hanging on by their fingernails right now with the wood prices the way they are and without the tariffs. So I suspect that if this was to impact them financially, it could be the end.
Some industry experts believe American families will face soaring construction costs, with Quebec wood helping build homes there.
It's going to fuel the inflation, and it's going to decrease the capacity of purchasing for the American families.
One Ontario furniture store has been busy arranging deals with other countries.
I don't think they realize what they're doing right now. They're forcing us to change our supply chain outside of them right now.
In the prairies, the agriculture sector is expected to be among the hardest hit.
Two industries are so integrated between Canada and the U.S. that it is going to have immediate impact.
And the trucking industry that keeps the two economies moving also fears jobs will be lost.
Our members are already struggling to make ends meet, so facing down the barrel of these tariffs now is just a perfect storm, unfortunately.
Atlantic Province's Trucking Association says around $26 billion worth of goods from the region go to the U.S. each year. Auto workers in Windsor, Ontario are also anxious tonight. The city is Canada's automotive hub and deeply integrated with the industry south of the border. And that is why, as CTV's Heather Wright reports, the pain of tariffs wouldn't just hurt Canadians.
At 3 p.m., the shift changes at the Stellantis plant in Windsor, Ontario. Workers head home while others clock in. The factory has been making Chrysler vehicles since 1928, but many now worry about its future.
So it's scary as an auto worker. It's part of the emotional roller coaster of being an auto worker.
Jay Mercier has been working here for 25 years and says a 25% tariff would not only be devastating to the auto industry, but to his family as well.
It weighs on all of us. My wife also works here too, so it's all our eggs are in this basket.
Windsor is one of the most trade-dependent cities in Canada, with nearly $10 billion worth of motor vehicle exports a year, another $4.5 billion in auto parts, and nearly $4 billion in agricultural products from local farms. Tens of thousands of jobs in Windsor are at risk, along with thousands more across the country. The CEO of the Windsor Essex Chamber of Commerce says tariffs will cause pain on both sides of the border.
Knowing how integrated our two economies are and speaking to the businesses of our community, this doesn't make economic sense. This is going to hurt both of us. It's going to hurt Canada. It's going to hurt the United States.
And workers in the U.S. are worried as well.
It means dramatically increased costs that we might not be able to recover.
Auto parts crossed the border between Windsor and Detroit multiple times during the manufacturing process. And Donald Trump has said tariffs would be applied for each crossing. The U.S. president wants cars to be made solely in America, a proposition that can't be realized overnight.
It's a 2-year lead time. What happens in that 2 years? Like absolute casualties of the economy.
And so workers here at Stellantis wait and worry.
I've been here 31 years, and it's the first time we've really been looking at this type of damage to our industry.
The uncertainty of what happens next looms large here in Windsor and right across the Canadian auto industry. Many companies had been investing in assembly plants and hiring new workers. The future now, though, very much up in the air. Omar.
CTV's Heather Wright in Windsor tonight. The threat of tariffs is also looming over a massive mining conference in Toronto, where there are concerns about the huge impact they could have, both on existing operations and the cost of building new projects. Here's CTV's John Vandenbelly-Rao.
This mining convention in Toronto is the world's biggest, every year drawing more than 25,000 people. Here you'll find folks who build, operate, and supply mines around the globe, and many unsure how hard tariffs could hit them.
I know in the mining sector, they're starting to adjust their prices and come up with a plan here.
Miners are accustomed to boom and bust cycles, but after a bout of high inflation, tariffs was the last thing they needed.
I see it as another curve that's thrown at us, and we'll go through it. What more can you say?
The biggest worry for many is new projects in the face of so much economic uncertainty.
People are worried. Tariffs mean that the cost of building mining projects are going up, and that's something that is very worrisome in an environment where people have been struggling with inflation.
Canada is one of the world's leading producers of minerals. According to the federal government, the sector employs directly and indirectly more than 700,000 people, and it contributes to 6% of our economy. And everyone here will be paying very close attention to what happens tomorrow. Everything that goes into a mine site, from massive ore haulers to crushers, could get more expensive. Of course, the U.S. president has talked a lot about critical minerals and securing them from places like Ukraine and Greenland. Ontario's premier today said he wants to speed up such projects in Canada, going after Ottawa, saying the permitting process has to be streamlined.
We cannot afford to add years and years of delays, massive cost, to critical mineral projects so that the federal government can waste time repeating and replicating assessments that Ontario has already done.
Today, I am pleased to announce.
For his part, the Natural Resources Minister announced the extension of an exploration tax credit, while everyone here braces for whatever comes next. John Vanavalley-Rao, CTV News, Toronto.
There was no deal on minerals between the U.S. and Ukraine after that disastrous face-to-face meeting on Friday. Today, Donald Trump ordered a pause on military aid to the country after more sharp words for Volodymyr Zelensky at the White House.
Well, I just think he should be more appreciative because this country has stuck with them through thick and thin. We've given them much more than Europe, and Europe should have given more than us because, as you know, that's right there. That's the border.
Earlier today on social media, Zelensky said he wants to work with the U.S., adding it's very important that we try to make our diplomacy really substantive to end this war. And a day after meeting Zelensky at Sandringham, today King Charles met with Prime Minister Trudeau. The private audience took place as Donald Trump's annexation threat looms. Buckingham Palace did not share details of the meeting. On X, Trudeau wrote that he spoke to the King about, quote, Canada's sovereign and independent future. The Prime Minister is in the final days of his job, and this weekend, the Liberal Party will choose the person to replace him. As the race draws to a close, today a former Prime Minister weighed in. CTV's Rachel Aiello on what he said.
If this trade war happens, a government led by me will be there.
Touting her track record during the last round of Canada-U.S. tariffs, today, Chrystia Freeland's campaign stop was focused on the threat of a redo. Her main rival, Mark Carney, has also been positioning himself as best placed to stick-handle the economic fallout.
Had some experience with crises and building stronger economies.
But today, former Conservative Prime Minister Stephen Harper called into question some of Carney's credentials, blasting the man who he tapped to run the Bank of Canada back in 2008 for overstating his role in steering Canada through the global financial crisis. In a letter, Harper accused Carney of taking credit for things he had little or nothing to do with back then, asserting that the hard calls were made by former Finance Minister, the late Jim Flaherty. One former Flaherty staffer said while he agrees his then boss led the charge on the political decisions, Carney's role on the monetary side shouldn't be minimized.
Behind the scenes, an intangible is that Carney and Flaherty were close, they liked each other, they talked a lot, and they worked well together.
Responding to the letter, Carney's campaign accused Harper of engaging in revisionist history to save Pierre Poilievre, who has been slipping in the polls since the Liberal race kicked off. Now, with just days left before their new leader is named, some Liberals say they're having issues with the verification process needed to vote. Voting opened last week. So far, of the 400,000 registered Liberals eligible to cast a ballot, 100,000 people have been verified. Of those, 78,000 have cast a ballot so far.
The Liberal Party says the system is working as it should to ensure a secure vote, and that there's a team on hand to troubleshoot cases where members' information doesn't match with what's on file, similar to what can happen in a general election. Omar?
All right, Rachel, thank you. Prince Edward Island's former premier has a new role representing Canada. It comes less than 2 weeks after his resignation. Dennis King has been appointed as the new ambassador to Ireland. He stepped down as PEI's 33rd premier last month, saying it was the best decision for his family. At least 2 people are dead and several others were injured after a car drove into a crowd in Germany. It happened in Mannheim, and the driver has been arrested. Police say the suspect is a 40-year-old German man who did not appear to be politically motivated. And the scene outside the Rome hospital where the Vatican says the Pope suffered a new breathing crisis. Officials say Pope Francis is back using an oxygen mask and ventilator to help with breathing, but added he remains alert and focused. The setback comes 17 days after the 88-year-old was admitted with a complex lung infection. Coming up.
It pretty well ruined my life.
A cryptocurrency nightmare brought to life. Plus, the Canadian connection to the world's largest pearl. Global Affairs says 2 Canadians have died in Mexico. In a statement, the department says it is aware of the deaths and consular officials are in contact with local authorities. But they are disclosing few other details, citing privacy concerns. Local media reports say 2 Canadians were found dead inside a home along Mexico's west coast, while another person was sent to hospital with injuries. Firefighters are scrambling to contain a raging wildfire near Myrtle Beach in South Carolina. Gusty winds and unusually dry conditions are fueling the flames. The state has declared a state of emergency, and a statewide ban on outdoor fires remains in effect.
It woke me up out of a pretty, dead sleep.
I was thinking, should I go for my doorway?
There was no risk of tsunami, no reports of damage.
And a 4.1 magnitude quake struck near the town of Sydney, British Columbia, and was lightly felt in Victoria and Vancouver. It marks the 3rd seismic event in the province in less than 2 weeks. And as you just heard, no reports of any damage. Financial damage from fraud is getting worse. Canadians are losing tens of millions to online crypto scams each and every year. But a new snapshot by the Better Business Bureau shows that the demographic losing the most money might surprise you. 18 to 44-year-olds falling victim to fake social media videos, luring them into shady investments. Here's CTV's Pat Foran on what to look out for.
That night is when I realized it was all a big scam. Like, it was very devastating.
Claude Lazan of Edmonton says it was in 2021 when he clicked on an ad on Facebook. Someone called him and said he could make money investing in cryptocurrencies. He started off with small amounts, but eventually invested his life savings.
We need to make sure you don't get charged for money laundering, so you need to give us $200,000 right away, and that's what ended up happening. I cashed out my RSPs to do that.
Lazan was scammed out of $500,000.
It pretty well ruined my life.
According to the Better Business Bureau, when it comes to the riskiest scams in Canada, the investment cryptocurrency scam is in first place. 45% of investment scams involve cryptocurrency. The top platforms where victims are introduced to the fraud are Facebook, followed by Instagram, WhatsApp, and TikTok. Criminals are using fake Elon Musk videos that have been altered with artificial intelligence to make it look like he's promoting crypto investments. There are also fake videos of Prime Minister Trudeau that have also been manipulated with AI.
We have developed an investment platform that we believe can help every Canadian safeguard their financial future.
Hope is coming. We're trying hard. Don't give up.
Cybercrime Victim Services is a website with resources to help those who have lost money to crypto fraud. It's working with U.S. officials to try and track down stolen funds and may be able to get a portion of Lazan's money back.
We have the 3-step process, which is a freeze, then you seize, then you return it. A lot of people don't believe that crypto can be returned, but it can. You just have to follow a lot of the steps to do so.
Retrieving stolen crypto funds may be possible, but there are no guarantees. Lazan says he wishes he never clicked on the ad on Facebook.
Unfortunately, I lost all my money. It's very devastating for me and my family.
Pat Foran, CTV News.
Still ahead, the astronomical beauty of a mission to the moon. Universal awe over a lunar landing's stunning new views. A private lunar lander is beaming back stellar new views of the moon after a successful touchdown. Firefly Aerospace's Blue Ghost captured its first sunrise today. The lander is carrying a drill, a vacuum, and other tools to conduct experiments for NASA. Several Canadian-based technologies are also along for the ride, including a GPS-like navigation system created in Quebec. Blue Ghost is one of 3 private landers currently on lunar missions.
I've never seen anything like that.
Some Caped Crusaders took on a heart-pounding challenge high above Toronto today, raising money and the spirits of children receiving care at the Holland Bloorview Hospital, all part of a week-long fundraiser offering financial support for families.
It's something to behold. It really is a one-of-a-kind treasure.
And the world's largest natural pearl made a rare appearance at an exhibit in Toronto today. A local artist inherited the gem that weighs 27 kilos and is worth more than $100 million. Still ahead, an ace of a deal for Canada's first WNBA team.
She's a champion. She's an incredible businesswoman. She is an incredible mother.
The sports legend serving up some major excitement for the Toronto Tempo. Toronto's WNBA expansion team will have some extra spring in their step when they hit the court next May. The Toronto Tempo receiving an early bounce from a tennis legend, hoping to take women's basketball to the next level in the Six. Here's CTV's Scott Lightfoot.
Even before the first player has been signed, the Toronto Tempo have already landed a superstar athlete.
It's a huge boost. Anytime you have someone that has won more Grand Slams in the Open era than any other tennis player, and you have that champion associated with your team, it's a huge benefit.
She's known for her skills on a different court, but today the WNBA expansion team announced that tennis icon Serena Williams will be joining the team as a part owner.
Serena's been very vocal in her support of women's sports and also her interest in being part of the ownership group of a WNBA team.
The team says Williams will play a role in future jersey designs as well as helping to create unique merchandising collaborations. They also hope her addition will spur fan interest in the organization.
There are so many phenomenally talented, rich, diverse, multi-layered female athletes. I think this decision is so important for this moment, and the next generation sport fan will respond in a very positive way.
Williams, who wasn't doing interviews today, answered questions on the Tempo's social media channels where she said, "Canada has always been a special place for me. I played my first professional tennis game in Quebec City, and I love Toronto, the culture, the food, the people. I won my first Rogers Cup here when I was 19. Now the team is hoping her involvement will help spur a new generation of athletes to success."
She's a winner. She's a champion. She's an incredible businesswoman. She is an incredible mother. All these different things that I think can help contribute to the Tempo in so many different ways.
The Tempo's inaugural season tips off in May 2026. Scott Lightfoot, CTV News.
Great to see. That's a snapshot of this Monday for all of us at CTV National News. Thank you for watching. Good night and see you tomorrow.
CTV National News, Canada's #1 newscast. Canada's #1 newscast for excellence in journalism.
We begin tonight with breaking news.
CTV National News with Omar Sachedina, winner of the Canadian Screen Award for Best National Newscast. Watch weeknights at 11